Hello everybody, and thank you for watching my videos. As one of my friends says, I really mean it. He says that with the beginning of every video he makes, and I find that very soothing to know that he actually appreciates me listening that much. I feel like he's directly connecting me to his channel, and I'd like to imbue that onto others who listen to my channel, and spread that good feeling that we have a great big connection with one another. And we do anyway, even when we don't feel like we have any particular issue. We're all connected in ways that we can't even imagine, I'm sure. But when it comes time to really pull together because of a dire situation, whether it's a world war or whether it's something like the plague, God forbid, or a pandemic anyway, God forbid that too. But anyhow, you know what I mean. With any kind of tough time, whether it's the 1930s where people pulled together because of the strife in deprivation, or whether it's some other causal factor, I think that we start to share a bond with one another. And I don't want to get overly sentimental about it, so stop crying and listen. I'm kidding. But anyhow, I enjoy making these videos, and I hope you enjoyed listening. And I wanted to talk about some of the Mandela effects again, which is my main reason for making these videos. I've been on YouTube for many years, and I never really wanted to make a video because, I play guitar, and I do a pretty good job of that, but there's always guys that play a little bit better than me and have a little bit better equipment and a little bit better guitar and a little bit more talent. So I always feel a little sheepish about that. But this is different. This is something where I'm going to impart information that I feel that will be of great significance. Tonight I actually woke up two girls, and no, I don't mean they were asleep, but I woke them up to the Mandela effect. And that was something that I was very proud of, because it wasn't easy. I had to approach them very gingerly, and I first asked them if they'd ever heard of the Mandela effect, and they said, heard of it but don't know about it. And I said, and the first thing that popped into my head was Coca-Cola. So I said, Coca-Cola, the little line in between the Coca and the Cola. And they said, yeah. And I said, well, it never existed. I said, not unless you're old enough to remember the 1920s. And the girls, they had their computers right there, so they said, what? I said, go ahead and look it up. It'll take you 2 seconds. And I'm an older guy, and present myself reasonably well, so they thought, well, look it up for this old guy. He's probably nuts. But they looked it up, and they went, uh-oh, wait a minute. He's not lying here. I said, now, once you notice that there's one thing amiss, once you notice that one little thing has changed in your reality, then you're going to look for another one. Trust me. I said, it's like you get a tattoo, you want another tattoo. That's just the way it is. And so I said, are you interested now? And they said, yeah. So I said, well, let's try another one. Bernstein Bears, right? You remember those. And so I went on, and after about 10 of them, I said, now I'm going to leave you on your own, because I don't want to overwhelm you. And you've got your own interests and things that are dear to you. So I'm going to let you go on your own path now and just find out which things on your own. But I promise you, I said, there are thousands of things. And I can't cover all the topics. You wouldn't remember them all if I did. So just go on your way and watch the videos that people have made. And if you want, you can watch mine. I'll give them my name. And, we can all stay connected, because there's something going on, and I'm glad that you are a part of it, because you seem like intelligent girls. And I really kind of sold them on the idea, and they were intelligent girls. And so, anyway, I felt really good about that. I was talking in my last video about the jukeboxes that are video jukeboxes called Scopitones, and I've been looking them up, and just to see the pictures from, it goes all the way back, if you can even believe this, to the 1920s, for goodness sake. Can you believe that anybody in the 1920s would be able to drop a coin into the jukebox? and actually, I don't remember. Of course, I wasn't alive, but I don't recall a lot of people having electricity in the 1920s, much less going down to the drugstore and hitting up the jukebox during Prohibition. It sounds crazy, but there it is. Let's go listen to the jukebox. It's Prohibition. Yeah, that's a good idea. But by the 1940s, they had these, what they called soundies, these machines now, where people would watch videos, and, they did it on a regular basis. And then by the 60s, they had gotten it down to a real science. And I mean, they're high-definition videos with magnetic sound strips, whatever that is. Just an amazing thing to behold. And I've been looking at them, and it's just a fascinating thing to see. There's so many of them. I could spend the next couple years just watching videos now, and time tripping back to an era that I lived through and yet haven't been to in this timeline. So that's talk about amazing irony. All these new old videos from 50 years ago that nobody's ever seen. How cool is that? Some things about the Mandela effect really are kind of cool. I mean, they're really neat. These new animals and different things. And, I guess I don't care if South America is directly under me or has moved and migrated, 600 or 800 miles east or however far it's gone. But I do have to pause there, because if it has moved that much, I don't know what's going to change next, and that's the problem that I have. It's not so much what has changed, it's what may change next, and that really starts to bother me. So I decided to do this video differently because somebody told me recently that I have a face made for radio, and I thought that I thought that was probably about right. So I thought, well, you got a good point there. So anyway, my voice sounds better than I look, probably, I hope. But anyway, a little more self-deprecation. I need more self-confidence. What do you think about that? I get enough people to feel sorry for me, then they'll leave nothing but positive comments, in the comment section. But on to the Mandela effect itself, and the things that I've come across recently, like Sally's beauty products turning to Sally. And I've noticed a lot of different signs. I noticed that Pepsi looks wrong to me. I thought it was the other way. The colors seem upside down to me. But I don't know if that's just my imagination or if it's a real Mandela effect. And I'm having a very difficult time telling one from another anymore. So I have to be careful, because the cool thing is you start to look at the world with new eyes, because you think, well, now what else is different? What else is different? And even if things haven't changed, you have to wonder if we really are in a different timeline, then I'm seeing everything for the first time. Now, of course, I wonder about myself. I've changed. And I really have. I mean, I've examined myself. I don't mean lay on a table and play doctor. I mean, I've examined myself as far as, just inside out, just insight, introspective, pensive, introspective research here on myself. And I used to be the most temperamental guy. I was always in fist fights, and I was always a good brawler. And now I feel embarrassed to even say that, because it's not like me. I don't want to hurt anybody. And I don't want to get hurt. But the thing is, there was a time when I was a little bit younger, not that long ago, really, I'm ashamed to say, even in my 40s, where I was still fist fighting and drinking and doing all these different things. In the last few years, I don't have any use for drinking or drugs or anything else, and I don't have any violent tendencies at all. And it's not like I'm controlling my temper. What I mean is, it's that I don't have a temper to control. And that is very strange because I've been temperamental. My father was very temperamental and had a horrible temper, and my grandfather did too. I never met my grandfather because he died back in the 1940s, being that he's from the really old days. He was born in the 19th century, quite a far back. But anyway, the thing is, I've noticed my girlfriend has changed. She was extremely difficult for a while, and now she's nothing but nice. And I mean, pretty much all the time. And so she's really come around to have some positive changes. So I don't know if these are just naturally occurring things, but they seem to have happened all at once. And it's like I turned around and I'm a different person. I feel differently, and she acts differently. Now I say that because I notice other people like Anthony Robbins, who used to be a very nice man, and that's how he got famous. I noticed that he has changed 180 degrees, and now he uses the F-bomb all the time and, calls women bitches and all kinds of things, and it just seems ridiculous. It's kind of like watching Mr. Rogers going on a cussing rant, cussing somebody out. It just seems ridiculous. Bob Barker cussing someone out, if he even existed in this timeline, I should say. But, there's certain people you just don't imagine ever speaking that way to anybody. And yet, here Anthony Robbins is a completely different person. And, I contend that if he were this mean and ornery, that he never would have made any success of himself. Who would have followed somebody like that? Even in as violent a society as we live in, we still don't seek people out just because they know how to cuss. I mean, we've got myriad people who can do that. And we can always do it ourselves if that's what we want. But we surely don't pay a lot of money to people who act that way, do we? So I don't think he would be very successful if he had to, go at it from the beginning with this new personality that he has attained overnight, just like that. And I notice if he can change overnight, and I feel like I've changed for the better, thank God, overnight, then I wonder, people comment all the time. They say, hey, have you noticed changes in people's personalities? Because this is a big thing for people. Some people say they're not married to the same people anymore. And it's not just one or two people that you could say, well, maybe they're imagining it. There's a lot of people out there that say that, no, they're not married to the same person. That the person hated sardines and now they can't get enough sardines, or they were a nymphomaniac practically and now they abstain, or they drank soda pop, by the bushel barrels, and now they don't ever drink soda. They only drink water. And that's the way it's always been for them. And if you say, what about all the Coca-Cola you were drinking? They say, what are you talking about? I hate Coca-Cola. I've never drunk it since I was 15. I tried it the last time. And these kinds of examples, and I'm just making that one up, but this is the type of thing that you get from people where, one guy, actually, a real story, he either did or didn't like ketchup, but he reversed himself from covering everything in ketchup to just loathing ketchup, or it was the other way around. But it doesn't matter. The thing is, he changed, and his wife says it's not the same person. And he thinks she's different too. And who knows, maybe that's the case. If all these other things can change, and people's names can change, I believe that can change as well. And I really think that we have to look very closely at the Mandela effect, because it's not simple. This is not just one or two things causing this. This is, it may be one or two things, but the causality, what I'm talking about, the changes that are being made are profound, and they go all the way back to the very beginning, I believe. I would say they go all the way back to whatever beginning we have of this universe. And I believe because of the different positioning of the continents, we're talking about hundreds of millions of years. And if we're going to go that far back, then it would be a very easy step to say it goes all the way back to the beginning of time as we know it. So these changes evidently go both directions. They affect a timeline, and from a quantum standpoint, you're looking at going all the way back and all the way forward, because from a quantum standpoint, time doesn't exist. It is a necessary concomitant to human consciousness. But saying that, you can really look at it another way and think about the idea that it's the basics that we don't understand, such as time, space, gravity. These are things that we really do not understand, as basic as they are, and as crazy as that may sound to most people. We understand many things, and you can understand string theory, you can understand basics of quantum physics, quantum mechanics even, but nobody knows why gravity exists. We know that it does, and we know pretty much how it works, but we don't know why. Just like we don't know how aspirin works. It's pretty simple. But anyhow, there's many simple things that we just don't have the answer to, and unfortunately, or maybe for the best, who knows, we don't have answers to the basic questions of why are we here. And of course, Christian people will say we're here to learn, to love God, and it still doesn't really answer the question, though. Even if you're a Christian and you say, well, God put us here, well, that answers how we're here. But why did God put us here? And you can't read the mind of God, so you don't really know. That's up to him to decide, I suppose, and I'm not sure you could guess. You could say, well, I think it's because he wants to be loved, and he wants you to have free will so you can love him back. Well, that's a good answer, but it's still speculation. And that's not coming from the Bible, so you can't base it on that either. But all these things, you have to really resort to philosophy, and that's not a concrete answer. So the basic things that we need to learn, we feel the need, why am I here specifically? Why me in particular? Why am I here? God has enough Christians, if you're a Christian. So why one more? Why me? And these are questions that don't really have an answer, except that on an individual basis and at an individual level, many people do answer that question to their own satisfaction. So I'm rambling now, and if you didn't notice, I'm quite good at rambling, so I guess you could nickname me the Ramblin' Man, but that's already been done. Bob Seger, where I'm from in Detroit, already covered that. I wonder if his name has changed. I hate to even look. And which one of my favorite artists is going to have their lyrics changed, like the Mamas and the Papas. Stopped into a church I passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees and I began to pray. Oops, that's never been the lyric now. I pretended to pray. Why? Why would you pretend to pray? That makes no sense. If you're in a church, even if you weren't Christian, and you got down on your knees, you couldn't be in meditation mode, a type of prayer. You really have to say you would pretend. Then why talk about going into the church? How does that make any sense? And that's something I've noticed about the Mandela effect. A lot of times these changes make things nonsensical. For instance, the wineskins in the Bible being now bottles that will break if you put wine in them. Well, that doesn't make any sense to anyone. Not unless it's a kind of bottle I've never heard of. And so, many times, whether it's with a movie, if you build it, he will come. Who? He who? Who's he? Many times it's just a craziness. It doesn't make sense. Life was like a box of chocolates. It was when? When was it like a box of chocolates? Many years ago? Yesterday? 5 minutes ago? it doesn't make any sense. And so you can probably think of your own examples of Mandela effects that have changed things that no longer make sense. They just really don't. Or they make less sense than they did. And it begs the question, why? A lot of people think that the Mandela effect is demonic, and that it's, I've thought along those lines myself, because I watched that crazy Gothard tunnel opening where they had all the satanic craziness. And it's enough to scare an atheist. I mean, it'd be enough to scare anybody. It's really creepy. It's not normal to act that way. So, there's nothing wholesome or reasonable about it even. It's just gone way, way over the top. And kind of like having, showing The Exorcist at the opening would be probably mild compared to what they actually did. So you can't overemphasize the amount of strangeness going on there. And that has led me to believe that maybe it's a demonic thing. I think along the same lines as many other people. But then why would the devil want to change Luke, I am your father? Why would he care about that? Why would he care about Annie? The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow, come what may. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're always a day away? That's what it is now. That's what it has always been in this reality. It's supposed to be. You're only a day away. I can't sing, but you get the idea. But now it's different. Why would the devil change Annie? And it doesn't make any sense. The song makes less sense because it's not as happy. You're always a day away. It's kind of like saying, well, I'll never get to you. I'll never get to tomorrow because it's always a day away. So what good is that? It's not as upbeat. It doesn't flow. So it's a little bit of discord or disharmony, but I don't think that it's necessarily something that the devil himself would be interested in so much. However, I don't know. And so I have to speculate like everybody else, and I don't like speculation. I like to know what I'm talking about. And yet with this, I find that the best I can do is cobble together my ideas and thoughts and do what I'm doing now and communicate with other people who have feelings and issues concerning this, and hope that we can all relate back and forth over time, because I don't know how long this is going to go on. Folks, I really don't know. So I want us to be able to relate back and forth and help each other as much as we can. Maybe some of us will get to know one another, and in some great way we can be of assistance to one another during the next few years. And that would be my highest hope, because I do think we're going to have to deal with many more changes. I mean, that's where the math leads. If you look at the odds, we keep having changes, and there's been thousands of changes. So the odds of them just stopping are slim to none, in my opinion. And I'm not a mathematician. I always say that because I could be wrong, of course. But anyway, the thing is, we all need to soldier through this together. And I think some of us do a better job with that than others. But I'm going to, in the very near future, compile a list of Mandela effects that I know of. And I don't think anybody has a very comprehensive list. Many people say they do. They'll come out with a list of 100 Mandela effects, or the 20 best Mandela effects. And many people that are talking about it, they're like game show hosts in some ways. Although I'm not putting anyone down. I enjoy all the videos and things. But the thing is, they make it into like a game. Can you guess which one this is? And can you guess which one that is? And make sure you hit my like button, and make sure you subscribe to me. And it's like a contest of egos as to who can make the best, most entertaining videos. The only reason I'm interested in my videos being even remotely entertaining is so that I can get people to listen. That's the whole point. And the whole point is the information. because for me, it's all about how important these changes are, or how important they may be. We just don't know yet. And with that in mind, this is not a contest of who makes the best videos. Certainly not. Although I don't enjoy watching bad videos, and I'm not suggesting anybody reduce the quality or anything like that. But I'm just saying that, all these people talking about I don't monetize my channel. Monetize your channel. Why would you? I mean, that's just ridiculous. So, nobody's asking anyone to do this for a living. And I try not to hit dislike just because people are asking for money or competing with one another or complaining that so-and-so stole my information. All this childish rancor, really belongs in grade school to me. And we need to stay on point. And I encourage people, I think we should all make videos, and we should all communicate as much as we can, because there cannot be too much effort. We cannot make too much effort. Can't even make enough effort in trying to get this across to the public that this is something that's real, because we don't know how deep this rabbit hole is going to go. And I try to maintain a balance, keep it funny and lighthearted, and yet pursue the fact that it is a very serious subject. It's not an easy balance, really, because when you get to talking about it, it's very easy to become dismayed and even alarmed at where this may be headed. But at the same time, if you let yourself get into fear, or if you worry, or if you become agitated over it, or nervous, or anxious, then you're less capable, in my opinion. And I want to be a good fighter. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to do a lot of that. And I used to do it in and out of the ring as well. And I'm not going to brag about what style I used or any of those things. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that I learned many things about how to endure during a confrontation, a physical confrontation. And the one thing you'd never want to do is to get upset. You don't want to become angry, and you don't want to become anxious. You want to stay focused and in the zone, basically. And that's your best bet in any kind of a contest, is to stay positive by having faith. And that's where God comes in. That's where faith in the higher power can help you, because you can't you can only have so much faith in yourself, because you're only human. And so you're limited. But if you have faith in the higher power, in God, then you're not limited anymore. Then you are tapping into external energy. And that's what great inventors do. They tap into the source. And they'll tell you, I didn't invent this. It's like I reached up into the ether and just plucked it out of the air, because it was already there. And I just reached up and accessed it. And many great thinkers, from Tesla to Edison, have talked that way, that they really didn't invent anything, that they just had access to these great things that were already there. And so, who's to say that that's not for every aspect? We need to tap into the higher power, and I'm not going to get all religious on you or anything. But the thing is, I want you to be able to withstand what's coming with dignity, poise, assurance, faith. We need to band together and treat each other well, because we're going to need to. Things may get bumpy. And if they don't, we can have fun together. So either way. Anyhow, I'm so glad that you could be with me again and listening to this half an hour now. Wow. half an hour went by fast. And thank you very much for being with me on my channel. And I will wish you the very best. God bless you all. Have a happy Mandela week.